We are, please let me we are in the middle of a series. We're actually going to finish up at the end of January, but we're in the middle of a series called Prayer Set to Music, and we've been looking at the Psalms and walking through different prayers in the Psalms, and then looking at what we can learn about prayer ourselves because of what we actually see in that regard. They're in there, bro. I put them in there. So we've been walking through that in particular. We've been dealing with that, prayer set to music and stuff like that. And so today we're going to be looking at Psalm 36, which I think we have the slides in there, but if we don't, I'll just run through this and it'll be fine. But Kyle, I just uploaded them the same way I normally do. Just anyways, they're on the desktop if you want to just create one. Okay. Hey, actually, if you type in the search window in Pro, type in Psalm 36, Coleton, it'll pop up and you can drag it in if it's not already in there. Okay. I'm going to read Psalm 36. I just had a little bit of a lisp right there. There we go. But these things on the screen here, those are the slides. And we're going to go from there. But this is Psalm 36. This is David writing a prayer. And this is what he says. I have a message from God in my heart concerning the sinfulness of the wicked. There is no fear of God before their eyes. In their own eyes they flatter themselves too much to detect or hate their sin. The words of their mouths are wicked and deceitful. They fail to act wisely or do good. Even on their beds they plot evil. They commit themselves to a sinful course and do not reject what is wrong. But your love, O Lord, reaches to the heavens, your faithfulness to the skies. Your righteousness is like the highest mountains, and your justice like the great deep. You, Lord, preserve both people and animals. How priceless is your unfailing love, O God. People take refuge in the shadow of your wings. They feast on the abundance of your house, and you give them drink from the river of delights. For with you is the fountain of life, and in your light we see light. So continue your love to those who know you, your righteousness to the upright in heart. May the foot of the proud not come against me, nor the hand of the wicked drive me away. There the evildoers lie fallen, thrown down, not able to rise. This is the word of the Lord. I love to evaluate everything. It's kind of my personality. I do this. Emma says that I do it too much. I do it with like every word that people say to me. I think about what they say to me, and then I process it for a while. Any conversation I have, if I have a conversation with you, I'll think about it on the drive home, and I evaluate every piece of it to go like, is there anything I need to apologize for? Is there anything I should be like, oh, that was really good. I said something really good there. Is this something dumb I said? And so I process everything. Like it's personality, and then some of it's maybe a little idolatry. Like I really want to be successful. But I evaluate every single thing in my life. This is why the ministry changes at times, and different things happen in this room. It used to be facing that way, and I evaluated. It was like, nah, this isn't going to work. We need to change it. Now we have other people that do that, which is wonderful. But I do it in my house. Like my wife will come home, and all the furniture, I sold it all and bought new furniture. So she left for work that day, came back to a whole new furniture in the house, and that was a fun day to deal with that. But I just evaluate everything, and I do that. I do that in baseball. I did it with my baseball swing, and I wanted my baseball swing to be good. I wanted to be good at baseball, and so I did it. I was just constantly evaluating and looking at things. The most substantial time that I probably did this was junior year. I had about a year in which I was grounded, and it was junior year. I was grounded like all year, and it wasn't because I did one thing. It was because I did like a bunch of things, all just spread out over time. And I was so bad, like I was in trouble for so long, that I finally sat down and was like, I need to figure out why I'm grounded all the time. And it would be easy for anybody in my life to actually have told me well, you did stupid things a lot. That's why you're grounded. But I didn't think of it like that. Like I was like, I need to evaluate why I'm in trouble so much. And I actually got a journal. I didn't journal as an 11th grader. But I pulled out a journal and I started writing down the three things. I was like, I think I'm in trouble for these reasons. It was and so my list was this. It was here's what you don't need to do. You don't need to get drunk at your house anymore. Bad idea. You got in a lot of trouble for that. Don't sneak out of your house anymore, preferably after you got drunk. Don't do that. It's also a really bad idea. And then don't lie. And these things to you guys might be very duh. Don't do any of those things in your own home. But to me, it was really helpful to evaluate why am I in trouble all year long? Why are they so angry at me all the time? And it was it basically came down to these three things. If I don't do these three things, I think my life and my family will actually go pretty well. I don't think I'll get in trouble all that much. And so anytime I was going to make a decision, I was like, am I going to get drunk? Am I sneaking out? Or am I lying? And if I wasn't, I was like, I think I'm okay. And that's how I made decisions for junior and on into senior year. But I evaluated it. and then try to figure out how it works so I could live in light of the evaluation. And so I think we do this to some extent. I think everybody does this. I think you, especially at New Year, like the New Year comes, you look at your last year and you're like, here's what last year was like. Here are the things I want to take with me. Here are the things I don't want to take with me. We do it with the clothes that we wear. We look in the mirror for maybe a disproportionate amount of time. We evaluate, does this look good? The presents we get from grandma, we're like, I don't know if I could actually use it. I don't actually know what it's called. Like, I don't even know what this is. And so you're evaluating things. Messages that you send to people, if somebody leaves you on red, and you're like, okay, what could be happening? So you imagine yourself, and you're evaluating on the other side of the screen, like, they hate me, they want to kill me, I don't know what happened. And so, girlfriends, boyfriends, you're evaluating your relationship if you're at all. I don't know if you do it well, but sometimes you should do that, and I do think that we do that. You evaluate the person you're dating. It's like, is there somebody hotter that I should be dating? I mean, so you do some of these things. We evaluate these things. Relationships, friendships, my friends, like, do I have the right set of friends? We evaluate our popularity. I mean, there's so many different things that we evaluate. It's just the way that our brains work. I think mine works on hyperdrive, but I think as people, we evaluate everything at all times. When you walk into a room, I was talking about this with Noah, but you walk into a room and you're kind of reading the temperature and evaluating the temperature of the room, like, who do I need to go talk to? Do I need to just go sit by myself? What do I need to? We're constantly doing this. And so the reason I say that is because that's what David is doing here. Okay? David takes a prayer, and it's basically a prayer of evaluation. He's evaluating some things, and then he's praying for protection from something that he finds. And so that's exactly what the psalmist in this particular time, David grew up and wrote a number of the Psalms, and he grew up, obviously, to be king of Israel and all these things, but at this particular time, he's very young, so he's like high school age, the teens, 16, 17, 18, he's around that age and writing this, and he just takes some time to look around and look at his life, look at the people around him, and he evaluates, and then he writes down his findings, and he prays for protection based on what he finds. And so I want to look at what he ultimately is evaluating. So the first thing that we see is that he evaluates the way of the wicked. It says there is no fear of God in verse 1. It says there is no fear of God before their eyes. And so what he's saying there is like they don't see God as awesome. They don't see him as wonderful. They don't see him as valuable in any way. There's no, not fear of like I'm scared, but like there's no awe of him. His might, his power, his love. They don't, like the songs are playing like, oh, the overwhelming. And they're like, yeah. They're like, the wicked don't see any of that. Like he is not very high and lifted up in their eyes. Rather, he goes on and he says, in their own eyes, they flatter themselves. So in their eyes, what's actually lifted up is themselves. They flatter themselves too much to detect or even hate their sin. And so what they're saying is like, they think they're better. What he's saying is like, the wicked see themselves as better than they actually are. And so when things ultimately blow up in their face and they don't go well, they see themselves as elevated, so they don't see it as their fault. They see it as if something goes wrong, it's someone else's fault. They're constantly blaming someone else. I'm better than I actually am, and they think that they're better than they actually are. Other people would say, like, you're not that great. And they're like, oh, no, I definitely am. I tell myself I'm great all the time. I flatter myself in my own eyes. And so whenever anything goes wrong, they don't look to themselves. They actually look outside, and it's like, it's your fault, it's your fault, it's your fault. Everything bad in their lives is someone else's fault, and because they never think that they're the problem, they ultimately just stay in that problem. And so David talks about, like, they go from one thing to the next. They just stay in their problem because their problem never goes away because they never actually address the actual problem. They're always pointing to you or to you or to you, and that's what the wicked do. They flatter them. It couldn't be me. I'm great. It's your fault. It's your problem. The reason my life is hard isn't because of me or my decisions. It's because of you. This is why, and this whole idea, this is why people blame like their anxiety on a chemical imbalance when really it's just they need to stop comparing themselves to other people on social media. And if they'd stop that sin of comparing themselves to other people, then that anxiety would go away. It's not a chemical imbalance. It's actually something that you're actually doing. It's just sin that you could stop doing and that would go away. It's also the reason why people say that I'm struggling to make friendships and it's hard for me and it's their fault. I'm not able to make friends because it's their fault. It's like, well, the only reason is because you're not actually pressing into that thing, and so you never see that on your side. And so they stay without friends because they never actually do the thing that it requires to make friendships. And so when somebody says like, hey, if you want to make friendships, you got to do this, then they dismiss that and they go, no, it's not my fault, it's their fault. They're unfriendly, that's why. It's not me, it's them. This is why people blame other people for their own unhappiness. It's not the fact that they're unhappy because of the decisions they're making or some of the sins they're pressing into. I'm unhappy because you've done it. It's what I did to my parents. I don't know why I'm in trouble all the time. You're making my life unhappy, and I never had the wherewithal to think, like, maybe you're grounded all the time because you made bad decisions. And it took me so long to get to that point. We do that, like, I hate my parents that they're doing these things and they're making my life miserable. It's like, you're doing this to yourself, but you never have the chance to actually think of it because you flatter yourself in your own eyes. It's not me, it's them. They don't understand me. And it never gets to, maybe there's something in me that I actually should change. And so, again, they stay in their pain. They stay in their problems. And David is just looking out at the crowd of people and going, they never actually get past some of the issues that they face because they never actually address the only common denominator in all their problems. All their problems, all their pain, all of their conflict, there's one common thing, and it's them, and they never do it. They never see it. They never address it because at the end of the day, they think, it couldn't be me. I'm great. It's not my fault. It's somebody else's fault. Then he goes on in verse 3, and he says, their words of their mouth, they're wicked, they're deceitful, they lie to themselves and to other people. They fail to act wisely or do good. Even on their beds, he's like, even while they're sleeping or whatever, like they're plotting evil and they commit themselves to a sinful course and do not reject what is wrong. And what he's saying is like all they can think about is evil. And when they come up with ideas to make their life better, even their best ideas are really bad ideas. Like even they're like, here it is, I got it. And it's like, that idea is terrible, you should not do that. But because again, flatter themselves, lie to themselves, and all the rest of it, like everything they come up with, every best idea they've ever had is a really, really terrible one. And that's what David is noticing. Like, here's what I've learned about the sinfulness of the wicked. It lies to them, it cheats them, it steals from them, and they never even realize that it's right here, that it's something that's actually taking from them. Their bad ideas are actually their best ideas, and their best ideas are actually just bad ones. I saw this thing one time that I was going to play the video, and then last time I played the video, someone got skeeved out because it's about a snake. But I saw the snake. It was copperhead, which is a poisonous snake, if you didn't know that. But it got stuck between like a rock and another thing, like a rock and a hard place. It got stuck in this thing, and it couldn't get out. And so for a while, it like starts, you actually watch the video, and it starts to try and like flail, and it's trying to get out, and it's trying to do all these different things, and it's trying to do that and get out. And it just can't. And so it starts like biting just the air, like there's no, other than the person, filming it, it starts biting at the air and all this stuff. And it starts making all these decisions and all these things. And then all of a sudden, it just shifts and sees its tail, and it starts biting its own tail. And so it's poisoning itself, and ultimately the snake dies because all it chooses to do is to bite it. And I was like, that is the perfect example of the sinfulness of the wicked. His best idea killed him. And like to me and to David here, he's like, this is how the wicked live. They never address that maybe there's something in me. Maybe it's my fault. All they're constantly doing is like, it's not my fault. I'm great. It's not my decision that made that blew up in my face. It's because they didn't understand. My decision was great. And they lie to themselves, they flatter themselves, and they think they're great. And he's like, this is what I've learned about the way of the wicked. And so he evaluates the way of the wicked. And then he moves on. And he says, then he evaluates the way of the Lord. He goes, but, your love, Lord, reaches to the heavens. Your faithfulness to the skies. Your righteousness is like the highest mountains. Your justice is like the great deep. I love how the Message paraphrases this, Eugene Peterson's paraphrase. He says, God's love for us is meteoric. His loyalty towards us is astronomic. His purpose for us is titanic. His verdicts, oceanic. And what David ultimately realizes when he's evaluating the way of the wicked, and then he begins evaluating the way of the Lord, he notices something very, very different, but he actually notices something that's pretty substantial. What he sees here ultimately is like everything that the Lord has, his love, his faithfulness, his righteousness, his justice, like all of those things, he's like, this is actually, if you go back to what the wicked want, this is actually what they're chasing down. What the wicked actually are looking for are love, righteousness, justice, and peace, and faithfulness. Like they're looking for these things. And so they want to be loved, and this is why, I believe I have this slide up here, but the wicked want to be loved, and this is why they flatter themselves and tell themselves and others that they're better than they actually are, because they need to feel valuable. People want to feel loved. They want to feel important. And so the wicked want to be loved. And so in order to get that, instead of going to the Lord for it, they ultimately just I'm great. You should love me because I'm great. And I couldn't possibly do anything wrong because then you won't love me, because if I do something wrong, then I won't be loved in that way. And so they flatter, but they're doing it to seek love. They also... People they want people to be faithful to them. They want people to be loyal to them, and that's why, again, they lie to themselves, they lie to others, never admitting they're wrong, because you wouldn't possibly be faithful to me if I messed up. You wouldn't possibly be loyal to me if you knew all the different things. So if I own the fact that I've messed up, what if you leave? And so I want faithfulness. I want loyalty. I want you to stay with me. I want that from my friendships. And so because of that, the wicked pursue that in a very different way. They just lie to other people. And again, they flatter themselves. They want the way that they do things, their way of doing things, they want that to work. They ultimately want it to be the right way. They want it to be the righteous way, the right way of going about things. That's why, again, they're constantly searching their minds. And even in their beds, David's like, even while they're sleeping, they're constantly searching about how can I do something to make my life better? Constantly trying to force fit this square peg in this round hole. How can I make my way work? They want righteousness. They want their way to work. He's like, the wicked aren't making these decisions, these bad decisions, because they just like, I'm just great at making bad decisions. I love when my life is in ruins. They're actually trying to force, they want righteousness, but the way that they go about it is totally different. They want to be protected. That's what justice does. Anybody who operates for your justice, they're ultimately protecting you and they're giving you peace. And they want that. That's, again, why they reject anything or anybody that says you're wrong. You did something wrong. Because if they're wrong, then justice has to fall on them. And they don't want that. They want to be protected. And so what David is realizing, what he's pointing out when he shifts from going, here's the way of the wicked and here's the way of the Lord, he's pointing out this fact. It's like, look, everything that you're longing for is actually found in this person. It's actually here. And the way that you're pursuing it is so backwards and it's so messed up, and it leaves you in this place where you're never actually experiencing it. And so you're not actually experiencing the protection of the Lord. You're not actually experiencing the righteousness of God that actually sets you up and leads you in better direction where your life isn't in shambles anymore. You're not actually experiencing love. You're trying to get it in a different way, and you're shaping people around you, and you're lying to yourself and to them to try and get that, but you're never actually receiving it, and it's found here. And David is pointing to is like, this is what all of us, the wicked too, but this is what everybody actually longs for. We long to feel important. We long to be loved. And what David is saying, he's like, the Lord has this in abundance. It's not like the Lord loves us. It's that song we just sang, oh, the overwhelming whatever love of God. Like, it's like the overwhelming, and that's what David's saying, like, your love for us reaches to the heavens, your faithfulness to the skies. Like, you have love and faithfulness. You will be loyal to us, and it reaches, that loyalty reaches to the skies. Your love for us reaches to the heavens and the heavens beyond. Like, you have all of these different things, and what everybody wants is ultimately found in you, and you're giving it out in abundance, and you're giving it out for free. And David said, everything that you long for, wicked or not, everything that deep down we desire and long for, he has. And he's willing to give it to them. And so after evaluating these two paths, David prays. He hasn't really, he's kind of written some stuff, and he's talked about that. He's evaluated, and now he shifts, and he actually begins praying directly to the Lord. And this is what he says. After looking at these two things, he says, continue your love to those who know you, your righteousness to the upright in heart. May the foot of the proud, and this is important because he personifies pride and wickedness. He's not talking about people here. He's giving human elements to pride and to wickedness. So he says, may the foot of the proud not come against me, nor the hand of the wicked drive me away. There, and by there he means there in their pride and there in their wickedness, the evildoers lie fallen, thrown down, not able to rise. And what he's saying, he's like, I don't want pride to overtake me. I don't want to become like the wicked, who consistently stay in their problems, stay in their pain, and miss the glories and the beauties, constantly searching, Lord, for what you have available to them and never actually finding it. I want to be someone who actually, you continue your love towards me, where I'm actually experiencing the awe and wonder of God. I'm experiencing your love. I'm experiencing your faithfulness. I'm experiencing your justice. I'm experiencing your righteousness. I'm experiencing those things. I do not, please, don't let pride overtake me, and don't let the hand of the wicked push me away down this place where I'm deceived into thinking that I'm experiencing something that I'm actually missing out on. Don't let that happen to me. David understood in so many ways that if God were to, and I think this is very important because he doesn't pray against a specific person. He's not like, hey, this particular prideful person or this particular wicked person, he's not doing that because he understood. He's like, Lord, if you took away all the wicked people and all the proud people who are affecting my life, if you took them all away and just left me by myself, I would still be a danger to myself. Like, just remove everybody. And so for you too, your parents, your friends, the person online, whatever, remove every person in your life. They're causing me problems, and if they died, it'd be better. Like my sibling, they're the worst. Just remove everyone, and you're still a danger to yourself. And that's what David understands. He's like, wicked people, they can harm me and all the rest of it. Be like, I'm not worried about that. Pride and wickedness will drive me away from you, and it will do more danger to me and more harm to me and more destruction to me. My sin will kill me faster than they will. Please, and what he begins to pray, please protect me from myself. Protect me from my own sin. I got tons of stuff in here that's broken and messed up. Everybody does, and he's looking at the wicked and going, that lives in me, and that lives in me, and that's possible for me. Please don't let the foot of the proud get me and kick me out of this thing, and don't let the hand of the wickedness that lives somewhere in me, don't let that steal me from you, and don't let it steal what you have for me. Please protect me from those things. And ultimately, he does that, and the Lord answers that prayer. David was a man after God's own heart, and when David did step into sin, the Lord would send people to him to say, like, hey, you sinned, you should repent, and then David responded in that way, praying for those things and then seeing the Lord answer. But in our day, in our time, like we know better. Like the Lord really did answer this specifically. Like when David's saying, protect me from my sin, that's why God sent Jesus. That's why Jesus came, to protect us and to save us from our sin. There's a reason that Jesus didn't come to earth and fight against proud people, but he fought actually against pride. He didn't fight against wicked people. He fought against wickedness himself. He didn't fight against sinful people. He fought against sin. The cross is not him defeating humans. It's him defeating pride and wickedness and sin. Like, that's what he's doing. He didn't come to go like, I'm going to knock out these wicked people. He's like, I have to take care of a root heart issue, because if I kill at that time it was the Romans. If I kill all the Romans, if I kill them all, you guys will destroy yourself. Like, you're like, they're destroying us. Get rid of them. And it's like, you're killing yourselves. Like, do you not see this? Do you not understand? I didn't come here to kill an army. I came to crush an enemy that lives inside of you. I came to crush sin. And David understood this, and we need to understand this. That this is why Jesus came ultimately, to set us free. And the reason he did this is so that we would never have to experience what David was running from. God, please don't let me miss your love, your faithfulness, your justice, and your righteousness. Please don't let me miss everything that I actually long for. Don't let me miss those things. I don't want to live my life in like this lie or deception, not seeing, like, blind and deaf to what's real. I long for love, and we all do. I long for people to stand by me and friendships to stand near me, and people to, even when I screw up, for them to be near me. I long to make good decisions that ultimately lead me towards success. Nobody is born and it's like, you know what I want to be? Homeless when I grow up. Nobody does that. Everybody wants to be successful. Everybody wants a successful relationship. Nobody's like, I can't wait to get married and then blow it up. Like, I can't. No one does that. It's like everybody wants righteousness. Everybody wants justice. We want to see peace flow like a river, and we're just like, Lord, please, which is the media, would just shut up and leave us alone so that we can just live, and we want justice. We long for these things, and David's like, if we remove everybody else, we never evaluate our own hearts, we'll always miss out on those things. We'll constantly be looking at somebody else and going, they're my problem, and then we'll stay in our problems and stay in our sin and stay in our pain and stay in our conflict because we've never actually addressed it lives here. You are more danger to yourself than anybody externally to you, and David recognizes that. And this is why Jesus shows up and says, I'm going to go to the cross to die, to pay the penalty for your sin. I'm not coming here to kill anyone. I'm coming here to ultimately save everybody from something that lives here. Stop looking out there. It lives here. And so that's why Jesus comes. And this is why David evaluates. He's like, here's the way of the wicked. Here's the way of the Lord. I want this. And the only way to get that is to be saved from sin. And so I think for us, in many ways, we need to practice this idea of evaluation. Again, we do this already. You do this to some extent when you look in the mirror, when you check your teeth and you're like, I need to change my hair color or whatever. Like, I shaved my head the other day. I was like, I need to shave my head because I barely have hair anyways. Evaluating. We do this already. We do this, again, relationships, friendships, and all those things. We need to practice this idea of evaluating and looking at our lives. It's good to do it with our goals and our health and all these different, it's really, really good. But David does it with his sin. He evaluates, how is my sin affecting my life? How is sin affecting other people? And then what can I learn from that? How is the Lord dealing with people? What does he have that he promises to his people? And how do I get in on that? He does those things. So for you, for this year specifically, I'd love for you to actually practice this, and we'll do this in our small groups. But 4 questions that I wanted you to consider. And one of them is, if you want to evaluate your sin or whatever, what are you constantly looking for to make your life better, and it's actually not doing it? What are you constantly, like last year, just look at last year. What was I looking for to make my life better? Many people, it's COVID. As soon as that ends, then I'll be happier. And it's like, man, I think you were happy. I think you were unhappy before March too. I think there was some unhappiness there. Maybe it wasn't COVID. And that's the issue. People don't ask these questions, or we don't. We're just like, oh, as soon as I can drive, as soon as I graduate, as soon as I go to college, as soon as I have the freedom, as soon as I get a girlfriend, as soon as I get a boyfriend, as soon as I get 2 girlfriends, as soon as I don't know. Like, as soon as, and it's like, you were unhappy before all this. I think unhappiness just follows you regardless of the decisions you make. Maybe it's time to look at, you're looking for something to fulfill you and make you happy, and those things just won't do it. What are you constantly looking for, even this year? What are you looking for? I'm like, if this, then finally. If this, then finally. And it's not actually doing it. Because if there's something like that and you're still chasing it, and you experience some of it, and then it goes away, and you have to chase it down again, then it's probably not going to give you exactly what you long for. How is sin that you are practicing actually affecting your life? And this is what David does. He looks at the wicked. He's like, let's see what sin, the sinfulness of the wicked, let's see what it does to them. And what it makes them do is it makes them constantly chase and never find. Constantly in a cycle of I'm chasing it down, I'm getting hurt in the process and never finding what I'm looking for. Longing for fulfillment, and then sin promised, I will fulfill you. And then by the time they get there, they're like, oh, it didn't fulfill you. I'll try it again. So you run it back, run it back. How is sin that you are actually practicing, how is it actually affecting your life? Look at a specific sin. Just pick one. How is you comparing yourself to people on social media actually affecting your mind and your heart? How is you looking at other people and what they have and coveting what they have making you feel about your own contentment and your own happiness? How is porn actually treating your mind, heart, and sexual life? How's that actually going? It's destructive. It's going to kill you, or at least it's going to kill some part of you. When was a time that you felt joy or close to the Lord, and what were you doing or not doing during that time? Again, just like I remember when I started, going to church and stuff, I remember talking to people, I was like, man, I felt so close to the Lord on that retreat. And I was like, cool, man, I don't know who you're talking about. Like, I'm not a Christian. I have no idea. But then as I became a youth pastor, I keep hearing those things, and I was like, wow, it's not hard to pinpoint, y'all, if y'all just evaluate. Like, you were around other Christians. You were away from all the distractions outside of everything else. You were actually reading some of your Bible. You were praying a little bit more, worshiping a lot more. You didn't have, the normal music that you had. This isn't actually hard. You separated yourself from the life that you actually hate, that you think that you love, and you experience joy. It's not hard to come by, but if you don't evaluate it, you'll just constantly be like, I just need to go back to Rally Weekend. I just need to go back to United. I just need to go back to this other. Or there are practices that we practice there that you could bring into the real world and just have that. Remember people saying that about the prayer time. I was like, I just love the prayer time at United. It was like, at any moment, you can just pray. You can do that. Or at Rally Weekend, when my wife led y'all in the guided prayer, like, I don't want to leave. It's like, anytime, you can go back. It's in your mind. Like, just pray. Just do that thing. Where was the time you felt close to him? And then practice those things. And then finally, the last one, if saving us from sin or saving you from sin cost Jesus his life, what do you think it's costing you? If it killed a man, it requires death in order to be paid for. What do you think it is doing in you if it requires death? And I think so often we look at sin and we don't see it as that bad, like what could this possibly do? And it's like it took someone's life. It is longing to take yours. That's all it does. Kill, steal, destroy, everything about destroying everything that you have. What sin and Satan want to do is make you hate life, hate everybody around you, feel like you're alone, and that nobody's for you or never, and that God doesn't exist. He doesn't want to kill you. He wants you to be hopeless and lifeless and feel like there's nothing good in this world and I'm useless in it too. It would be different. It'd be kinder if he killed you. Because you ever put down an animal that's hurting, you know what I'm saying? That's kindness to put down an animal who's hurting. He's more hateful than that. He wants you to suffer as much as you possibly can. He hates you. And so if he can get you to think that sin doesn't do anything, this isn't really doing anything, but secretly somewhere in you it's killing you, he's like, that's a win right there. And so this is why Jesus shows you, what does sin cost? It cost my life. I died so that I could save them from a life of constantly staying in that sin over and over and over again. So my encouragement to you as you go to small group, one, think of these questions. And then two, Psalm 36 is a prayer guide on that table right there. That I wrote a prayer that I'd love for you to just take one as you go. You could pray through it tonight or something like that, but praying through this psalm. But as we go to small groups, I want y'all to deal with the questions in there. Give it the time. We're going to spend time evaluating. We're not going to do the response song because we're a little bit behind. But let me pray. Father, I ask that you would be gracious to your church and be gracious to these students here and these people here. Lord, would you bless them with your presence? Would you bless them with knowing you deeply? Would you bless them with what David had, just some humility to look at life and to look at their decisions and going, what is it? Is it actually working or is it failing? And if it's not working, Lord, would you call them into a better space? In Jesus' name, amen. You guys go to small group.